Well, I had a different question, but it struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah.
So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term, because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the Black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
When Sunny Hostin and Bill Maher disagreed on how the term woke has changed, things became heated on The View. What previously stood for a call for awareness of social injustice, particularly within the Black community, has been distorted over time into a weaponized moniker, according to Maher. He claims that political groups have stripped woke of its original meaning and used it to further divisions between cultures. Hostin resisted, maintaining that the tenets of the idea, social consciousness, and the pursuit of justice remain relevant. She emphasized that partisan distortion should not replace understanding these roots, and that the term woke can still have significance if it is rescued from political abuse.
But words migrate.
Why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice, who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want.
Okay.
Because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left, but don't tell me the left
Or maybe the super far right.
Well, he's talking about the left. Well, then
okay, but we talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right, and I can't say it enough. I think they're the bigger threat.
More than a semantic argument was brought to light by this ferocious back and forth, it also exposed a deeper conflict over the evolution of progressive language and the difficulties in defining social consciousness in a culturally divided environment. Now, let's witness how Sunny Hostin was utterly destroyed by Bill Maher.
I wanted to ask you about that because I think you're almost a free speech absolutist. You believe totally in the right to say what you believe, but I think a lot of us were disturbed to see terrorist flags being waved on American college campuses and seeing this a generation that some I think genuinely care about the plight of the Palestinians. I think most Americans do, but some who seem to be embracing a terrorist organization over the nation of Israel. What do you make of this moment? What do you think it's a result of? How do we fix it?
Well, I mean, it's just astounding to me that they can't tell the good guys from the bad guys. I mean, just morally. I mean...
By highlighting what he perceives to be a concerning trend of implicit or overt support for organizations like Hamas, Bill Maher sharply criticized some left-leaning forces. Given their harsh treatment of women and minorities, he contends that these groups are incompatible with the fundamental principles of equality and human rights. Maher views the problem as a moral conundrum rather than merely a matter of political alignment. He argues that the left runs the risk of losing adherents and undermining its credibility by seeming to endorse organizations with a history of authoritarianism or discrimination.
Let me tell you, if you're for Hamas, just live in Gaza for a day. And I'm not talking about while the war is on. I mean, before the war. Trust me, you would go running and screaming and begging to live in Tel Aviv, a place that has your values. I mean, women have this is a show watched by a lot of women. Women have no rights in this place, and a lot of majority Muslim countries around the world. I mean, there is no equal rights as far as speech, dress, opportunities for education, reproductive rights, freedom from sexual violence, freedom from sexual harassment.
The LGBTQ community as well. Yes.
You that too. But you throw around the term apartheid. There is a gender apartheid in a lot of the world where women are second-class citizens.
Deviating from the ideals that have traditionally characterized liberalism, such as upholding universal human rights, and resisting injustice. Pushing back, Sunny Hostin demanded a more complex viewpoint. Recognizing the complexity of progressive politics, she made it clear that supporting the Palestinian people does not equate to supporting terrorist organizations. Hostin emphasized that instead of supporting violent groups, many activists are concentrated on defending defenseless populations under occupation. Holding armed or political groups accountable shouldn't take attention away from the larger goal of promoting social justice and human rights, she underlined.
Notice what I've noticed. But I find that oftentimes when I'm watching the news. I'm only getting portions, because one of the things that happens, I was listening to you talk about the kids that had the Hamas flags. It reminded me of when people were saying Antifa is there, and doing it. So bad players show up and make stuff happen. But do you find that the view that we're being shown seems to be meant to guide us into thinking about people one way, when in fact it may be a much bigger conversation?
Bill Maher didn't mince words as he launched a scathing indictment of the media and how it shapes public opinion. Many media sites, he claimed, deliberately sowed discord by exchanging critical reporting for dramatic tales that incite anger and tribalism. Maher claims that in order to increase audience, conventional news outlets now favor content that exaggerates conflict rather than providing factual, comprehensive information. He cautioned that this tactic betrays journalistic accountability and goes beyond a simple error in judgment. Media companies paint a skewed view of reality by emphasizing some stories while downplaying or suppressing others, which leaves the public misinformed and more doubtful.
Oh, of course. I mean, the media is always going to just chase what is interesting to watch. I mean, I used to be able to watch the nightly news, for example. I can't do it. I mean, first of all, it should be called, here's some video we found that's fun to watch. That's not the news.
Yeah.
Like anything that happens on a plane. Like the plane skidded off the runway, so what? Call me when anybody died, and it's not, the door fell off. Okay.
In addition, Maher maintained that the media no longer serves as an impartial source of information. He believes that it has turned into a marketplace for fabricated indignation, which keeps viewers irate, split, and suspicious. He urged a return to journalism's fundamental values, which include reporting the facts and refraining from dehumanizing conflict. He warned that without that change, society runs the risk of becoming even more divided and mistrustful.
I'm sorry.
I understand the door falling off, but you don't want to be up in the air.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. That one I needed to know.
Okay.
Okay.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
And then by the time you get to the last segment, it's just, the bears in the swimming pool.
Yeah.
It's just nothing.
Yeah.
And it's narrative over truth.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like when I hear people talk on either side of it, I always think they're lying. They're just telling me half of it.
Yeah.
And I never trust them anywhere until I check out the other half.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's tedious.
Yeah.
I just want one place, and of course it's my book and my show.
In his incisive and uncompromising analysis of contemporary politics, Bill Maher saw it as a battlefield governed by inflexible, hostile tribes where loyalty frequently triumphs over open dialogue. Old school liberals, classic conservatives, and two more recent subgroups that usually adopt radical stances on social problems are the four primary groups he described. Maher claims that these new organizations have alienated everyone who deviates from the party line and forced people into limited identities by exchanging independent thought for rigid ideological obedience.
We're talking about your new book, which
Yes.
is that 20 years of your editorials re-edited and reimagined
Right.
in time for Father's Day. What do you want people to take away from reading it?
Yeah.
Well, I think I think we're tribal now, which is not good. And I think there's four tribes. Basically, there's old school liberals, which I would mostly count myself as, old school conservatives. There's still some of those
You've
left.
changed, though.
Wait, what are the other two?
Go ahead.
Well,
What are the other two?
well, that's what that's what I was trying to find out in this book. I don't think I have. And we were saying in the break, we have to come up with a new word for woke. Let's have a contest, because this is a word that's triggering. But I mean, those concepts that are different than they were 5 years ago. I mean, we used to do. Well, you did it. I was a guest on what was the homeless show? Comic Relief.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
You were great show.
Yeah.
And homeless was a term that I thought we kind of came up with because people were calling them bums and
Yes.
vagrants and hobos.
Yeah, now that's
homeless.
the word.
Now, no.
It's unhoused.
Well, it's
now.
people
Unhoused.
experiencing
Unhoused.
homelessness.
He didn't hold back when calling this kind of thinking a hazardous regression and cautioning that society runs the risk of becoming isolated in echo chambers, cut off from reality and from one another, unless we can get above tribal allegiances and embrace honest, open communication.
But they're experiencing it on the street.
Yeah.
Okay, the liberal view of that was for compassion's sake. We're the liberals. We're compassionate. Let's get these people off the street. That's not the view of the, whatever word we're going to come up with for this. Their view of the homeless is they're an endangered species that needs to be protected in their natural habitat, living their best life under a bridge. You know, that to me is crazy. That's the kind of things, I haven't changed on that. I still think we should get these people off the street. That's the compassion sake. So I didn't change, they changed, and there's lots of examples of that.
The View had a fascinating show with a lot of back and forth arguments and opposing viewpoints. If you liked this conversation, please subscribe to the channel so we can keep providing you with more interesting stuff. Thank you for viewing, and be sure to check back for more.